September 17, 73 AD. Beneath the sand-covered floor of the Colosseum, in chambers carved from stone and designed for purposes the empire never advertised, a woman named Livia sits chained to a wall. She is 19 years old, daughter of Dacian nobility, and 3 hours ago she watched her brothers die in the arena above. She felt the thunder of 50,000 Roman voices celebrating as gladiators cut down the last remnants of her family. The vibrations traveled through the stone, into her bones, a physical reminder that her world had ended to the sound of entertainment. Her brothers had been educated men who spoke Greek and Latin, who had negotiated trade agreements and hosted diplomatic dinners in their family's compound along the Danube. They died badly. One took 7 agonizing minutes to bleed out after a trident pierced his abdomen. The other survived long enough to beg for mercy from a crowd that laughed at his pleas. Livia is still wearing the silk dress she wore when Roman soldiers stormed her home 6 weeks ago. The fabric is ruined now, stained with sweat and dirt and things she tries not to name. But the guards have kept her in this dress deliberately. The contrast matters to them. Silk and iron chains, nobility and captivity. What she was and what she has become. She hears footsteps approaching through the underground corridors, multiple sets of boots on stone, men's voices discussing something in casual Latin. The tone tells her everything. This is routine business for them. Standard procedure for an ordinary day at the greatest amphitheater in the ancient world. A guard stops outside her cell. The key turns with a sound that seems impossibly loud in the confined space. The door opens and 3 men enter. One wears the armor of an arena official, his expression bored as he consults a wax tablet. The other 2 are dressed in the leather and bronze of gladiators, fresh from victory, one with blood still wet on his shoulder from whatever contest he just won. The official reads from his tablet in the monotone of someone performing administrative tasks he has performed 100 times before. Livia of Dacia, captive number for 17, Category 3 prisoner, assigned under provision of Lex Victorum to the gladiator Gaius Valerius Maximus at reward for victory in the afternoon contest. He makes a mark on the tablet. The transaction is recorded. Everything in Rome is recorded. The bureaucracy of empire extends even into this underground darkness where a teenage girl sits trembling and knowing what comes next. What happened in chambers like these was not random violence or the chaos of war. It was systematic policy, a deliberately designed reward structure that transformed female prisoners into instruments of Rome's brutal entertainment machine. The practice had a name in official records, though the terminology varied across different periods and provinces. Victoria Carnales. Some sources called it premium sanguinis, others noted the reward of blood. Victorious gladiators received access to female prisoners as payment for their service, and the entire system was administered with the same bureaucratic precision Rome applied to tax collection and military logistics. This was not a secret. Senate debates from the period discussed the practice openly, weighing its effectiveness, a tool of political control, against occasional concerns about public morality. One speech, attributed to Senator Stronicus Capio during discussions about organizing games in 71 AD, argues explicitly that humiliating captured women prevented future rebellions more effectively than simple executions. His logic, preserved in historical records, was coldly pragmatic. Dead men could become martyrs. Destroyed women became shame that conquered peoples wanted to forget. The Flavian Amphitheater, known today as the Colosseum, had opened in 80 AD, though the underground chambers where Livia now sat had been in use for years before the official inauguration. The structure could hold between 50,000 and 80,000 spectators, depending on how tightly they packed the stone seats. It featured extraordinary engineering, including mechanical elevators for raising animals and prisoners to arena level, hydraulic systems for elaborate water displays, and sophisticated ventilation that managed airflow for tens of thousands of bodies under Mediterranean sun. But beneath all that architectural brilliance was infrastructure designed for purposes that official guides would never mention. cells with iron rings set into walls at specific heights, chambers with drainage channels cut into floors, rooms positioned with calculated precision near gladiator quarters. The architecture revealed intent. These spaces had been designed specifically for what was about to happen to Livia and hundreds of women like her. The Dacian campaigns of 70 to 73 AD had provided the specific historical context for her captivity. Emperor Vespasian needed military victories to legitimize his rule after the chaos of the Year of Four Emperors. The Dacian territories along the Danube offered opportunities for conquest that would both secure borders and provide the captives needed for triumphant games in Rome. Roman legions had burned villages systematically. They destroyed agricultural infrastructure and captured elite families specifically to display them in triumph. Livia's father had been targeted deliberately because he spoke Latin and understood Roman politics. He represented the educated Dacian elite that could potentially lead organized resistance. His capture and execution, his family's destruction, served strategic purposes beyond simple revenge. It was a message written in blood and humiliation. This is what happens when you resist Rome. Now Livia sits in that cell, watching the gladiator called Gaius Valerius Maximus step forward as the official departs and the door closes behind him. The lock turns. She and this stranger are alone in a room designed for exactly this purpose. But what makes this moment remarkable, what makes it worth examining across 2,000 years of history, is what happened next. Because occasionally, when individuals like Gaius made choices that deviated from expected behavior, the system's true nature became visible in ways that administrative records could not completely hide.